Sally.
I know. I'll get the sand out of my vagina at some point, but
Cut that. Holy God, you fucking simplify me once in a while. This is going to be an ongoing thing, I can tell, and I'm all right with it. It'll turn out to be funny, probably. Did you hear him explain it? You put your hand out the car window and your hand gets colder? You mean like a 4-year-old? Well, you didn't have to worry about that because you had proper barricades set up all around your lift for OSHA standards, right? So there's no way anybody'd ever bump into you.
yeah, there was a.
Listen, you better be glad that we got to wait a certain amount of seconds before I can curse because that pissed me off. Welcome to the Ice Shower After Work podcast, everybody. We're glad you're here again. As always, we're in the job trailer. I'm one of your hosts, Jason. John is with us as well. Say hello, John.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going today, buddy?
It's going pretty good considering all things considered.
All things
in life.
considered. I think we're in the best part of all things considered, don't you?
For the most part. I kind of wish that Mother Nature would stop rearing her head and stop being a...
Well, you can't argue that, buddy. Sorry for the noise in the background, folks. I wasn't prepared with my paper.
Dude.
John
Buying
brought that
books
up.
and buying books, dude.
Yeah, I know. What are you going to do? Flip a page. John brings it up because we're going to talk about the weather a bit today. It can be one of the best and worst things about working in the trades, especially for some of the trades who really never get any protection from the weather, but we'll get to that stuff eventually.
Right.
As always, reach out on our socials, DM and Instagram, I Saw Podcast, at I Saw Podcast on Instagram. Please check out the website, isawpodcast.com. And, of course, you can email us, and please do with anything interesting you've got. Photos, videos, stories, whatever. And that's isawpodcast@gmail.com. John?
Fantastic. You did that really well, by the way.
Yeah, it's coming together. As we go here, we're podcast apprentices. So down the road, we'll get to be better at this.
Yeah, welcome to the train wreck.
Welcome to the train wreck, everybody. I hope you'll bear with us while we get better at this. We get our sound quality better, all that. I promise.
It's all going to change.
Yeah, it'll get better or you'll just stop listening. And either way, well, we appreciate you giving it a chance. But our topic today is weather and how we deal with it on the job site. John, it's, in my opinion, getting into the best part of the year because we get, well, where we are in the United States, in the Midwest, we get 10 nice days in the spring and we get 10 nice days in the fall, and the rest of the year is fucking hot or fucking cold or raining or hailing or snowing or the gates of fucking hell.
Yeah, devil's taint.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the biffies in a little while here. How do you feel about the weather swing that we got to deal with in the trades, my friend?
Besides the fact that when it swings warm and cold in the spring and in fall times, it makes me freaking sick and I get congestion and I get pissy.
Sally.
I know. I'll get the sand out of my vagina at some point, but...
Cut that. 2:37 in, folks. First edit.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, too.
No, I agree with you. We are quickly approaching. We are actually in my favorite time.
We're in my favorite time, too.
Right. I mean, it's averaging out, it's 65, 70 degrees. I can work in this temp all day long without a problem.
That would be the dream, right?
Yep. That would be a perfect day for the rest of my life.
50s, getting up in the morning, doesn't break 70.
Yep.
Yeah, I know the nice days in the summer are great and all that, but I would be perfectly fine if this was our weather, which obviously everybody says that. That's an unrealistic dream that we all have, and that's probably really universal across the trades, especially because I know I see the trades that get hit with it worse and feel bad for them.
Oh, dude, let's talk about all the guys that spend their entire career outside.
Always outside.
Right.
Right.
Let's talk about the brickies and the siding guys and the roofing guys. Windows and doors. Dude. Like, they're always...
Yeah.
And,
never really indoors.
Right. And do you suppose that they pray for a rain day?
Oh, listen, I would certainly hope. I've done my fair share of work that was all, 99.9% of it was outdoors on the roof of a building. Man, rain days, praying for a rain day. Like any other time, you'd be like, oh man, I hope it doesn't thunder today. And you're waking up in the morning going, come on, thunderstorm.
Right. Looking at the clouds in the west going, please generate something, please.
Well, this wouldn't come to any surprise to people I work with, so I don't mind saying this. I mean, there were days that I would be taking screenshots of the storm front over top of us just so they didn't think I was being week about it. Like, hey, look, man, like it's on its way. This thing's lasting for hours. Like, proving my point when they were probably looking at the same radar, going, "Yeah, man, shut it down." Like, what are you worried about? Me trying to over-explain just to get to go home.
Right.
But no, the back on point. I think you're right. I think they've got to be praying for rain.
I would hope so. Those poor guys and gals, they just, fuck, they're always screwed. And yeah, we being electricians, we spend, our fair share of time. I call it fair share.
The majority inside.
Majority inside. We got
inside.
a lot of outside work. We do spend quite a bit. I spent most of the last 8 years outside and doing underground. So yeah, I was so happy for rain days.
Oh, sure. There's certainly lots of site work people out there in all the trades who, I mean, that's what you do. That's your career now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're almost always out working when they're starting to put a parking lot down. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get you, yeah. Yeah, and that's rough. Like, I feel bad because a lot of people like that. They like the routine of that. They like the kind of work it involves. I mean, great. Like, if you enjoy what you're doing, that's good. But it is sort of a drag that you're always outdoors.
Right. And so you get full-fisted by Mother Nature, right? The guys that are outside all the time, they take Mother Nature on with a healthy dose of fuck off.
Well, it's basically what you got to deal with now. Yes, you can say pray for rain days, but that's also praying for a day off. You're not making any money. There's not a lot of people praying for that.
Right. The very select few.
Right.
But at the same time, I think people got to realize there's a little give and take.
Oh, sure. And I mean, the extremes that are written into most contracts of when you get to leave if the weather hits a certain, usually it's heat or cold, obviously an extreme one way or the other. I mean, they're pretty liberal in how far they're going to let us work, whether it's cold or warm. Like, I know we negotiated that over the years and stuff, but still, in my opinion, it's like, it seems like those numbers could be a little closer to zero. Like,
from what I understand, dude, there is no freaking set limits. Not in our contract.
But OSHA.
Well, that's not negotiated. That's federal law.
I shouldn't
Labor
have
law.
said, my fault. I digress. Hold on. Yeah. Shouldn't have said anything about our contract. For safety's sake in the field.
Right.
You know what
And
I'm
that's
saying?
very open-ended.
And it's really open-ended, right?
That is all dependent on the guys working. I have a great story about that, simple fact.
Let's hear it.
So the contractors that I used to wire houses for back home, years and years and years ago, they had a thermometer that they would hang in the house as they were framing it, right? And if it reached 105, they shut it down for the day. They just, nope, we ain't dealing with it, shut it down. It was 2 sons and a dad running the company, framing, working on the sites. The sons, in the summertime, would take that thermostat and they'd climb up in the rafters and they'd put it as far up in the peak as they possibly could.
I'm sure there's lots of that racket going on, right?
And then it worked. I saw it worked twice. And then the old man figured it out.
Well, that's
He
not
started carrying his own thermostat.
That's not a very long run. My first year living in the States, I was fortunate enough to find a job with a roofing company. And we,
Poor soul.
yeah, it was rough, but maybe appreciate what they're going through. People working outdoors, right?
Right.
We had a guy who was the master of, and a lot of it was a commercial rubber roof. I know it's not rubber, folks, but you know what I mean.
Membrane.
Not like, yeah, it's membrane.
Membrane roof.
If he knew it was going to be a cold, snowy night, he'd always take a piece off the roll that wasn't cut yet and lean it up over the corner of the building and use something to make sure it was flopping in the wind there all night. Because if we come in the morning, by the time we cleared snow, if it was going to snap that membrane, well, he had it down to a science. He was a big burly guy, so he'd leave it over there and it'd be frozen solid on the edge of the building in the wind overnight. And he'd go up, snap a piece off, and go, "Hey, boss, I don't know if we want to put membrane down today. All right, pack it up, we're all going home."
No way.
Now, that also meant we showed up and shoveled snow a bunch of times when we didn't need to.
Right.
But you got to pay a couple hours for that, so in the time, not a
Right.
bad thing, right?
For sure.
Yeah, working out in the elements sucks, and I feel bad because all the trades deal with it at one point or another, and it's never fun at all. And we certainly have our concerns. So where we are, it's mostly hot versus cold. So we just came out of terrible Biffy season, as I call it.
Right. The devil's taint. Biffy season.
The devil's taint of Biffy seasons. If you appreciate nothing else about the trades, the fact that we all have to deal with that is enough camaraderie. Those things are fucking terrible.
Yeah, the fucking blue and great saunas.
They're awful. Like, I've never been scuba diving, but I assume that's what it's like to put a scuba suit on when you try to pull your chores back up after one of those on an August day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're jumping.
Yeah. I never knew my jeans could squeak. Like, it seemed impossible the first time, but what do you do?
Oh, God. And let's fight. Like, the monkey powder that we use. I don't know if you use it. I've used it just to keep the
I use a
chafing
brand
down.
of that, right, just to keep my legs from bursting into flames.
Right.
Sure.
Right. I hate ball sweat.
Listen,
Ball sweat. God, Jesus.
I'm sure every dude listening can appreciate it. Yeah, no, it sucks. The extreme heat is almost worse because we have to wear a certain amount of safety equipment. Like, we don't get to wear shorts, right? We don't get to wear sneakers, most of us. I'm always jealous of some of the other trades who do a lot of outdoor work. You see them like a sleeveless now and then.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't make that big a difference, but in my head, I'm like, geez, man, it'd be nice to have that instead of like
Should I just
sleeves.
accidentally rip my sleeves off?
Right, yeah. And you know you're going to hear about it because a lot of companies are pretty specific. Like, and I understand, probably don't need your arms all the way exposed or whatever, but it is what it is. But yeah, I do see those guys going, yeah, it's probably pretty good. But they're also the people who are stuck working out in the worst of the elements all the time, so they get a little flexibility. So they should.
Right.
Like I say, iron workers, brickies, and the like.
Yep.
And, I've spent a little time running equipment in my career, but I'm sure most pieces of equipment that a lot of companies have aren't 100% up to date. They don't have excellent air conditioning or heating in them in the winter when the 49ers are running gear. I'm sure that's tough sometimes too.
Yeah, most of them don't, but a lot of them anymore do. Like, it's just the way it is.
So,
The open cab, that sucks.
right, yeah, if you don't even leave have a door.
Yeah.
Get the little like safety thing like the NASCAR or whatever, the little
Right.
the little window shield. It's like nylon strapping or whatever. Yeah, like that's no good. That's no good at all.
No.
Can you remember the worst time you had in the weather? When it really affected either you or just the job in general?
So I would say the first time that I realized that I got heat exhaustion
Okay.
was the worst. And it wasn't actually all that long ago. 4 years ago, I think. Working outside, busting balls. We were doing underground lighting and trying to get the light bases and stuff like that. I didn't take a break all day, and we worked a 10-hour day. And it was one of the hottest days of the year. And I think without the heat index, because we get the heat index and the wind chill,
Which we're going to get into in a minute. Go ahead.
Yep. So without the heat index, it was 105 and no wind and just blazing sun. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't stopping. I wasn't going into the shade. I nonstop. Because my own stupidity, and I'm willing to admit that it was because somebody pissed me off. And so I was proving a point.
Oh, hey, listen, lots of us have done workout, not just in adverse weather, but all the time. But yeah, just out of spite.
Right.
Yeah, spite's important. Spite builds a lot of buildings, folks. Don't sell spite short. Spite has got a lot of shit done in the trades.
Yep, in a very short period of time. And I realized that all of a sudden I couldn't walk all that well. And I was super lightheaded and I was dizzy. And so I forced myself to go inside, sit down in a chair in front of this big ass fan. And yeah.
Big ass fan.
And just, I guzzled like 2 Gatorades. And just sat there and almost passed out.
Doesn't sound comfortable.
No. And I think that was when I realized how the absolute extreme that I had pushed it.
Very uncomfortable. I haven't had too much trouble with the heat stroke, but I haven't lived here all that long. And where I'm from, we don't get the same humidity and crazy hot temperatures for long term that we get here.
Right.
But certainly there's been lots of times working outside, especially considering construction sites often are dirt before they're ever grass for any of the landscaping or pavement or anything. I mean, you're getting the sun from the sky. You got no shade. It's hot as shit. And you're, at least if you're standing on grass, there's some sort of cooling effect there. But I mean, just standing on dusty dirt, it's way hotter.
Yep, there's
and
nothing.
at least it feels like it is. Not to mention you're breathing that dirt all fucking day.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
we all know that day of going home on the super dry, hot days when you're on some dirt work site and coughing up God knows what. Mud, basically.
Or blowing your nose and it coming
It's
out black.
Right, terrible. Like, yeah, we can all get behind that. That was the end of a very long day, right?
Right. Right.
No.
So, how about you? Like, what is your worst experience with weather?
$5,600 in damage to my truck in a hailstorm, covered by insurance, thank God. Yes, I was at the start of a gas station job. Job trailer had some pipe in the ground, slab poured very early in the project. It was just me. Looking over the print, making some plans for the upcoming weeks, and all of a sudden my eyes get itchy. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? I look at the door, and I see that the dust is just swirling around outside like crazy, and it has filled up the trailer. That's why my eyes are all like gritty.
Right.
5 seconds later, weather alert goes off on my phone, and by the time I had a chance to yell at the framers that were trying to put up pre-made walls to get the hell down off of that lift because we got weather coming, I no sooner said it than we got so much hail. It did damage to so many vehicles on the site. I mean, not just
God.
mine. Like, I still have the video on my phone to this day. It was years ago. Came out of nowhere. Like, that was the worst I ever saw. Like, $5,600 in damage to just my truck, and there was plenty of people working on the site. It was a big, big site. There was the gas station we were doing. There was a great big grocery store up the hill. Like, there was lots of people there. I mean, I bet you that was hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage in
Jesus.
3 minutes. One of the guys, his poor window broke. Looked like somebody dumped golf balls into his car.
Oh, God.
I mean, like buckets full of.
Oh, Jesus.
Those are things that happen, right? So, but that's about the worst I remember. Other than I've done solar on some pretty hot days, and I've been up on a roof doing solar on some pretty cold days, changing out. Actually, I might take it back. The worst I had was changing out rooftop units on a grocery store in what turned out to be the coldest night of the year. We were there 12 or 13 hours before another crew came to relieve some of us, but some of us had to stay. I got to go home. I was lucky, but that was a pretty rough overnighter. One that I agreed to at the very last minute. The boss had called me, like, I think that day, hey, could you come to this place at 10? We need help overnight. I'm like, yeah, okay. I try to help when I can, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, man, I'll tell you, about 7 hours in, I fucking regretted that one, boy. Oof, we were cold.
No, the heat's still the worst one. My second worst is the cold. I can handle the cold way better than I can the heat. I don't get, as long as my feet stay warm, I'm good. But I remember I was working on a meat processing facility, and it was supposed to be a month-long project. Started December 2nd, and I was there until March.
Oof.
I was supposed to be done by the new year. Wildly wrong. But yeah, January 7th, I was laying on the roof in 2 feet of snow underneath their rooftop chillers, ammonia chillers, wiring up the chillers, and it was -14.
Fahrenheit for the people listening in Canada.
Yeah, Fahrenheit, -14. And I was trying to get these damn things wired up.
I don't know the conversion right off the top of my head, but -14 Fahrenheit sucks.
Yeah. It's damn
Significantly
cold.
sucks. Yeah, it's damn cold. Yeah. And windy on top of that, I'm sure.
Right.
Right.
A little breeze. It wasn't super windy, surprisingly. I didn't get buried in snow while I was down there, so thank God for that.
Well, there's that too. Which brings up something, man. I had a question about. You said heat index when you were talking earlier.
Yeah.
I've also heard wind chill.
Yep. We have wind chill here.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've lived here long enough to know.
Didn't you have that in the homeland?
Oh yeah, no, certainly. They certainly put wind chill on the weather forecast and things like that. I'm not specifically talking about the States. I'm talking about in my complete experience here. Isn't that just subjective? There's no
No.
scale, right? Like
Yes.
they went outside and it felt like it was minus 20 with the wind chill.
No, it's there. It is scalable.
It is.
The faster the wind, the colder it gets.
Okay, so there is some sort of just sliding scale with, all right, if it's 20 miles an hour, it's probably more like this.
Yep.
Okay.
So best example, in the wintertime, roll the window down in your car, stick your hand out it at a stop, and then go 60 and feel how much colder it is.
Yeah. No, I'm not
Right?
saying, holy God, you fucking simplify me once in a while. This is going to be an ongoing thing, I can tell, and I'm all right with it. It'll turn out to be funny, probably. Did you hear him explaining they put your hand out the car window and your hand gets colder? You mean like a 4-year-old who waves his hand on a fucking road trip? Yes, I understand how
I
that
still
works.
do that. Leave me alone.
Everybody does. It's okay. Especially if you're alone in your car. Don't lie to yourself. If you're listening to this, you definitely do that when you're alone in your car sometimes.
Okay.
Especially a nice day. Yes, I get that. I get that the stronger the wind, the colder that it feels. What I'm saying is, if it's, they actually have a scale that, okay, if it's minus 20, like Battleship, 20 degrees out, minus 20 or whatever, and 10 mile an hour, and they can say it's exactly this.
Pretty much, yeah.
What about fucking moisture in the air? What about the snow on the ground? Like, there's so many factors. It seems so arbitrary to me, which is why I'm bringing it up.
The humidity goes down when it's cold. There's no moisture in the air. It's dry.
Hey, listen, it can still be fucking moist
Like
and stuff.
how specific are we getting here? Because I will go full logistic mode,
Totally.
and it's not going to be good for any of
No,
us.
but we don't want to get into fucking stats and stuff. But that's what I was trying to bring out of you.
I'm not a meteorologist by any means, but
Right, but it's a whole thing, right?
yeah. I mean, yeah. Like I agree with you. Did some dude walk out and be like, "Oh, it feels like it's negative 20," right? I'm sorry, but after negative 10,
Right.
it's just fucking cold.
It's just fucking cold, right? So,
If you could tell the difference between negative 10, negative 20, God bless you, because Jesus Christ.
which was my point about you saying about putting your hand out the window. I'm not a meteorologist. I can't put my hand out the window and just go, I'm not like a fucking human thermometer, right? Like, oh, it's definitely 20 degrees colder moving at 6 miles an hour. Like, fuck. Like, obviously I can't do that, right? Just your suggestion of how I was supposed to do it. I'm like,
Well, no,
fuck
I was
do I
I was
know?
describing the sliding scale, right? That's the sliding scale. Yes. Higher the winds, colder the temperature.
From one of our previous episodes, remember when you tried to explain to me what a pie was?
Fucking pie.
Yeah.
Last episode.
Yeah, depending on when these come out, we don't know the order just yet. It's going to depend on what we feel like.
Now that I would actually have to keep these in order now that we fucked that up.
I didn't fuck that up. That's why I brought it up.
I fucked it up. I just fucked it up.
Well, that's what podcast apprentices do. There's going to be lots of that. What I was going to think about, man, I realized I was really closed-minded when I started thinking about this episode. Because we're talking about what we deal with here.
Right.
Cold, heat, rain, sometimes hail, right? I know we get the occasional extreme weather, but not like other places, man.
No, we ain't got to deal with the fucking tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, bullshit like that.
Right. Those are the exact things I want to talk about. So, even as a hurricane, let's start with hurricanes, man. You have a vague idea what time every year they're coming, but
Yep.
it's not precise. If you're trying to run a construction project, especially as a general or somebody who's investing in it, man, how do you time? Imagine what the schedules are like there.
Dude.
Hey, hurricane season starts in a month. I know this is supposed to be done in 9 weeks, but do you think maybe we should try to fucking get it done before Hurricane Jones hammers us?
Right.
I mean, the stress involved, when I started to think along a bigger picture of weather that we don't deal with here, I'm like, holy fuck, like that would be a whole other
Oh yeah, no,
Issue.
like yeah, for sure. Like okay, take it a step further too. Is you have a job that's not only 9 months. Say bigger projects, the skyscrapers, they take over a year. Oh hey guys, we're gonna start this, and we're gonna hopefully make it through the hurricane season, the tornado season, the whatever you got.
Right.
Do they build padding time into that schedule for
Do
that?
they build padding time into any schedule?
Not for us, but we don't deal with that extreme.
We're not building skyscrapers, you and I. I know there's lots of people out there, and God love you. That's a big project, right? But Right. So the bigger the project, obviously, that is the point. It would
Right.
have the potential to affect it much more.
And is there a certain point that people should look at, these cities, big coastal line cities, and just look at them and go, you guys are fucking stupid.
Listen, we all want to live at the beach. Got it. Right. That brings me to the same thing with tornadoes. I mean, not only could it
Right.
go through at any moment and completely derail everything you were doing. I mean, how do you reset a schedule after that? We lost half the building.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
That half is fine, but
Yeah.
from that wall down, I mean, that tornado took that part.
And then in a case like that, do you have to total all the building?
Right.
Do you have to tear down the other half?
So, and as we know, when those questions start to come up, when you start to involve money and investors and insurance,
Yeah.
well, then you got to have meetings, and we all know meetings don't speed things up most of the time. Meetings slow things down.
Yeah. They're meetings to have meetings.
Right. Okay. Rome wasn't built by having meetings, right? It was killed by, Rome was built by killing everybody who disagreed with you. Let's be
Right.
honest.
That's how it worked. So, good example. All right. It's not extreme weather, but it's an extreme event. Is we had the company I'm with, we had a building that was started. The 5 floors were built. And then the son of a bitch caught on fire because homeless people started fires on the 3rd floor in the middle of the night and burnt it to the ground. It literally, I'm no joke, it took them a year to figure out the insurance and everything before they could start rebuilding. That time also included the demo and the excavating of all the debris and everything, right? But
If I may, that's an active thing that happens with construction, but that's not extreme weather.
it's an extreme event,
True.
like I said, just not extreme weather. So we take that into consideration, right? The building was a total loss. Okay. Does that same situation happen with buildings that are weather affected? The hurricanes or tornadoes, even sheer line winds. It's not even a tornado.
Right.
They're still pushing 150 miles an hour and take down buildings.
Yeah.
Right.
Happens a lot.
So I really want to talk to somebody about that, actually.
Well, the reason I pushed us down this road was the effect that it has on the trades, because that's what this podcast is supposed to be about, right?
Right.
We're not here from the perspective of the insurance companies or the owners or anything like that. The ways that affects us, if you're living in a place that is prone to some of those things, so we won't say tornadoes for right now, because that kind of happens in the heartland where it's not like coastal, but for hurricanes,
Sure.
are you out of work now for 3 weeks?
Yeah. What happens? That's a great question.
And these are the questions we want you to answer for us. We're not suggesting an opinion. We're trying to figure things out and just talk as we go here. What happens to the trades in a case like that?
Right. Do you get shifted over to something else for the time being?
Right.
And then you can come back? Or like you just said, are you fucked for 3-6 months?
Could
Right.
be anything, right?
That's so interesting, because even on a minor situation where it's not like a huge shutdown deal, but there's extreme weather, like I understand when like hurricanes come in, right? The weather comes before the hurricane itself, right?
Oh, it's not like it comes out of nowhere like a tornado. Like, a hurricane's coming, right?
So not only that is you get the high winds and the rain, that'll shut down a job site.
Sure.
It doesn't even have to be the hurricane,
Sure.
right?
Oh, and it doesn't. Yeah, right. It doesn't have to be that extreme. Heavy weather down there coastal weather is serious, folks. I grew up on the East Coast, Canada. Coastal weather is a different animal.
Right. It means business, right? But like, yeah, dude. But that shuts down everybody. Like every trade gets screwed.
Well, with respect, except the linemen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, except the linemen.
Linemen and heavy
yeah.
equipment. I mean, unfortunately,
Jesus.
we saw some of these recent hurricanes this year, some of the videos. I mean, all hands on deck. You know,
And they were just waiting.
hundreds and hundreds of vehicles on every vehicle, just waiting for it to be over.
Yep.
And now those poor people, I mean, yeah, they're going to make bank during that time, but again, they're away from their family. They're dealing with crappy elements.
In one of the unsafest situations.
Absolutely.
Right.
Lines down all over the place. And I mean, it's
Debris.
right. It's,
I mean, everything.
It's brutal. And it's not just, I mean, it's not just linemen either.
Right.
49ers going back in, people trying to check gas lines, people trying to check structural integrity, ironworkers and things. Like, everybody's got to get back in really unsafe, half-ass conditions, not knowing what kind of state anything is in, their particular thing they're looking at.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's that, but you're talking about, on a normal big job site, God knows how many people that are just, going home to a
Right.
place that doesn't have power. Like, it's got to be tough in some of these extreme places.
Yeah.
Now, also, you chose to live there.
There's a little bit of that.
You get the benefit of living in whatever coastal place you're living in. It's probably nicer most of the year. The weather's probably good. The beach is pretty close, etc. I mean, there's benefits, but, for the unknown, I couldn't imagine trying to work in an environment where you might every year lose out on God knows how much time because an extreme weather event like a hurricane came through and just fucked everything up.
Right. Yep.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's probably no really solid government programs to help everybody out when that happens.
Oh, God, no.
I know they
Not when-
try, but it seems to me like they're not really perfect.
Right. And not when it comes to the trades.
Right.
Like, across the board, we tend to get screwed.
Right.
They call it part of the job.
Oh, yeah, you got to expect those things to happen. Got to
Right.
plan ahead. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, a lot, and we know in the trades, a lot of this falls on our shoulders anyway. You knew what you were getting into. Well, that could be said for anything, man. Cut us some fucking slack and have a plan in place to help basically the infrastructure of both our countries and lots of other countries into not failing every time there's a big event like this.
Right. Right. But that would take brain power. Well, I mean, let's face it.
You would take a bigger picture look, that's for damn sure, buddy. So there's also the other extreme it's not weather. I don't want to say it's weather, but earthquakes. I never even considered an earthquake on a job site until I started looking for this episode. It never even dawned on me of what would happen if there was an earthquake. So not all trades, but a lot of trades spend time in aerial lifts, scissor lifts, JLGs, whatever, right?
Right. We certainly do.
Yeah. So I'm only going to speak for myself. You guys can light me up on social all you want, but I'll be honest, I'm not a gigantic fan of heights. I'm not scared, but if my options are not working 40 feet in the air on a JLG and working on the ground, I'll take the ground. Thank you very much. Even if it's a much harder job. I'm not a big fan of being in the air.
I didn't know this about you. God damn
Again,
it.
it's not a matter of fear. I'm not scared of heights, but if I had
It sounds like you're scared
No,
of
no, no.
heights.
If I had my option, if there was a harder job on the ground, I'd more likely take that job.
I wouldn't.
If that meant not being in the air all day.
Oh, I love being up in the air.
See, good. I'm glad there's people like you in the world.
80-foot boom lift. I'll bring it.
Man, no. See, now we crossed the line where I can say, I'd be scared of doing that all day. Nah, you say, okay, good on you. I'm glad there's people like you that'll do that because I'm telling you, it ain't going to fucking be me.
I say that with respect because of the simple fact of I spent my fair share sitting 80 feet up off the ground on a 12-inch circular pipe tied off, free air in it, pulling fiber cables in.
See, again, not scared, but not interested. I'm not looking forward to it. That's what I'm saying, right?
I love boom lifts. Now, the bigger ones, the 120s, I haven't spent enough time in it to be comfortable, but I could probably handle it.
Right.
I'd be all right. But the swing is what you got to worry about, is they just tend to sway
Sure.
when you're up that high.
And even if you're not talking about that, maybe you're talking about a scissor lift. Yeah, we take weight up on those a lot of times, but I think of guys like the spring fitters who are up there with big heavy pipe, a whole bunch of them rattling everything into place. I mean, not only are they up there, every little motion for those guys is exaggerated because all the weight of that pipe. Like, I appreciate
Right.
the other trades have it sucky,
Right.
you know?
Now, tying that back into weather, though, is being on a boom lift outside. Excuse me. Being on a boom lift outside is a totally different ballpark when there's a storm coming in. you can still get your work done, and we're expected to.
Right, and you're
Right.
expected to, yeah. That weather's not coming for a couple hours. You got a couple hours. To,
Right.
Yeah, sure.
But up here in our area, we get the wind before the rain. Right. And yeah, so when you're up 60 feet in the air on a boom lift and that weather's coming in and that wind kicks up, dude, you have to be aware enough to know that your boom is going to swing into the building.
Oh, sure.
So
but,
you have to plan for all that.
Right, but now you're talking the semantics of somebody being trained properly. Well, not that we ever are most of the time, on how to
Comes
use
with
this equipment.
experience.
Comes with experience, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, how many times do you work too far away from something because you're worried about bumping the building, or you bump into it a couple times and learn not to get so close next time, right?
Right. But that's the deal is with the weather, it exaggerates all that. So either you slam into the building and you actually damage it, and then God, that's a whole fucking other deal, or it swings the other way, right? It swings the other way, and now you're in a position where that weather can take you off of that. It can drop you to the ground, tip over your JLG, your scissor lift, just that shear rating, and nobody wants to deal with that.
Yeah, part being apprentices, make sure you know what you're doing before you use that stuff. Don't just guess.
Right.
Assume for the worst.
And if you're uncomfortable, say something for the love of God.
Yeah, anybody gives you grief for that. Or journeyman, foreman for that matter. Yeah, don't do anything you not feel safe doing.
Right.
So we've now established, which was what I was hoping for, there's some things to keep in mind when you're using the aerial equipment.
Oh, for sure.
But in the context of our weather episode, what I was just going to mention was the other extreme event that's not weather. Imagine you're set up safe and you're 40 feet in the air and you're doing whatever you're doing, and there's a light wind that day, it's not swaying too bad or whatever, and then a fucking earthquake comes through and shakes that fucking thing when you're in the air. Or let's say it wasn't on a safe surface and it really does rattle it. Hopefully it doesn't tip anything over. You can't plan for that. That's not in the weather forecast, motherfucker, right? Like, we don't deal with that here. There's people who are working on places that have more faults, right? Who need to know what to do if the ground starts shaking underneath you, right?
Right.
You get a young apprentice or somebody worried about being 40 feet in the air on a scissor lift indoors. No sway, no weather, no nothing. And then God just decides to shake the ground, like,
Right. Let's move the base of this for you a couple of feet.
Yeah.
Both directions and see if you like. I will say, now, I just stated that I'm totally fine. 80 feet up on a boom lift.
Right.
Great. You shake that thing. If I was in an earthquake situation, I would be curled up in the bottom of that JLG bucket, shitting myself.
A lot of people probably agree, man.
And praying to whatever God I need to pray to get me out of it.
Yes, I'm not a religious man, but if I were in that position, yeah, I'd be certainly praying to everyone I could remember at the time, hoping it'd help me out in the end.
And we make light about it, but it's a serious thing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously, there's not as many earthquakes as you would think, right? I looked it up. I was kind of curious myself, like how big a thing this actually was. Was it something you needed to concern yourself about?
Sure.
So all I could find from, and it was what appears to be a fairly reputable group. They're not trying to sell anything. Shout out to earthquakelist.org.
Okay.
So this talks about their averages. I didn't see a year on here, but their scale does go up to 2023, so it's pretty recent. And wait till you hear the end of this part before you judge, all right? So we all know, or if we don't, earthquake scales go from 1 to 10 plus on this Fujita scale. It's based on their strength, right? So anything after like a 2 you can feel probably. Anything after a 3 probably woke you up. And anything after a 4, according to this, probably shook something off the wall and rattled you maybe to your soul a little bit.
Right.
Nightmare fuel, that sort of thing. All right.
Nightmare fuel, okay.
A total of 1,749 earthquakes with a magnitude of 4 or above that have struck, and I don't know where they come up with this number, but it says within 186 miles or 300 kilometers of the United States. So I think that means from the center, after the borders,
Okay.
Not just in America, but if one was like a little in Canada or Mexico or off the coast, they kind of include everything, right?
Right.
That's in the last 10 years. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, okay? That's
1,700?
1,749. That's 174 earthquakes a year on average. That's 14 a month. That's one every other day somewhere in the geographic vicinity of the United States. Now, again,
That's a lot.
Some of those might be over the Canadian or Mexico border, and some of them might be in the water off the coast, right?
Right.
But still, okay. So if you're on a job site in a place, and keep in mind, we don't have faults in a lot of the North America.
No, we don't. It's on the outsides.
Right. That cuts down a lot of the places so let's increase their chances if they're in the last 25% of either side of the coast by 50%, right?
Right.
It's a significant thing that you need to, hopefully it happens so rarely you wouldn't be nervous about it. It seems like a very rare thing to be all scared about every day. Oh, what if there's an earthquake in the air, right? I'm just saying some people do have to keep some of these things in consideration in their heads.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be aware.
How many
holy shit.
how many times could you get shaken up whatever feet in the air on a JLG from an earthquake to say, that's it.
One.
I'm tapping out. You're right. I'm not going back up in that fucking thing again.
One.
Right.
Like, if I was living in an area that was actively active for tornadoes, actively active, Jesus Christ. If it was active tornado kind of area, California, Oregon, Seattle, that's a huge fault line through there.
You said tornado, you meant earthquake.
Did I say tornado?
It's okay. I know you meant it.
Fucking earthquake.
Just clarifying. Yeah.
Right.
Whiskey's wonderful stuff, folks.
It's fucking great. No. Like once. And I would probably shit myself to the point that I'd just be like, I'm good. I'll stay on the ground.
And see, you went from, so if these things are happening a couple times a month, more so on the coasts probably.
Right.
So if a couple times a month is twice as often because they're actually on fault lines, that's one a week.
Right. Now,
Man, people got to be getting rattled once in a while.
I will say, honestly, the older I get, the more I lean that way. You put me in a JLG and a boom lifts when I was in my 20s, and yeah, I could probably get acclimated to it until it shook it bad enough that it dropped the damn thing. But at a certain point, you're just like, oh yeah, here's another Tuesday.
But to the point that it's not happening that often. I'm sure a lot of people go through their whole career and never even feel one, right?
I'm sure.
I hope it's not happening. If it is, folks, if you're getting rattled enough from minor earthquakes on your job sites because you use a JLG or a scissor lift all the time, let us know. Tell us some stories. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I saw a podcast at gmail.com. Hit us up. But I can't imagine it's happened often enough that you could actually acclimatize. So I think your initial reaction was right. One and done.
Right.
You're up in the air real far and that thing takes a big quake. Fuck you and fuck this place and fuck this whole thing. I'm never going up in that thing again.
Yeah. I'm moving to the middle of the country.
Right. So, but yeah, the thought of earthquakes just happened to cross my mind. I know it's not weather. We're talking about weather today, but that's certainly an extreme event that if you're, again, I go back to it a lot. We'll probably go back to it a lot. I mean, yeah, it'll scare you if you're sitting in your office and all that. If you're on a partially built building, some iron worker out there trying to bolt something together, some crane operator who's lifting some big load up on top. Man.
Dude, and we've all seen the videos.
Yes, right.
Right? We've all seen the videos of what earthquakes do to steel. Like, it turns into a noodle.
Right. In a hot minute.
Yeah.
Rattle, rattle, rattle. Oh, it looks like somebody bent that.
Right. Dude, come on. Like, now I understand why iron workers have to be, like, half cocked all the time.
Oh, yeah, listen, if they needed a little something extra to get through the day, I'm not judging nobody.
Not those poor fuckers.
We're talking about energy drinks, kids.
Right. Oh, well, when we're off the air, remind me to tell you about the energy drink thing. I may have sent it to you, actually. But
when we're off the air,
yeah.
We're not on the air. We're on the air right now.
We're on the air. Yeah, when we're off, when we're not recording.
An energy drink thing.
Energy drink thing.
Yeah, that's what I was
pretty sure
say.
I sent it to you in the Instagram.
All right, I'll have to check it out. So you'd be willing to admit, though, that your bravery that you were mentioning earlier about being up in the air, I mean, that all changes the second somebody grabs a hold of that thing and just gives her a little fucking how's your father, wakes you up.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm telling you, That I'd never go up. I wouldn't go up on anything further than an 8-foot ladder probably for a month. Like
Probably not.
Right.
But that's the deal too, right? So everything that you do, if you're on an 80, if you're up in the air 80, even 40 feet, right? And the base of that moves 6 inches, your bucket's moving a foot,
sure.
right? It's all, yeah, no, like I'm good.
Oh, I can get even simpler than that for you, man. If you're on a 10-foot ladder and somebody kicks one of the legs an inch,
Oh, yeah.
That's
God,
gonna
that's
s-
enough to,
that's going to stop your heart for just a hot second, right?
you grab a hold of the ladder real tight.
Right, yeah. Yeah, if you had an expensive tool, that might have made the trip down. You're going to see how durable that thing is today, right?
Right,
Fuck
exactly.
that thing. I'm staying on this ladder. I'm not going down. And that was somebody accidentally bumping into it with a
Right,
pallet jack.
right.
That's an inch, right?
And you know what? We talk about the extreme weather. The only thing that ever worried me ever on a JLG and on a bucket, and I say JLG loosely, that's a brand type.
Right.
But on a boom lift,
Channel lock, vice grip, we got you. WD-40, we're on it.
right? On a boom lift, I've had to be parked in the parking lane next to a road, working on a building 60 feet out, stretched out sideways. Right. My biggest fear is that somebody was going to clip the tire driving by. I mean, if somebody bumped it with their car, I mean, that's not going to be a gentle bump. So I can't imagine. And I was stressed out about that the entire time I was up working on that. But take an earthquake, take a high wind. Because if it's a high wind, I won't even go up. But say I'm up there and get smacked with that base of that thing moves 2 feet from an earthquake. Yeah, nah, dude.
Yeah, no, you learn over time.
I'm going to have to change my shorts.
Yeah, we all know. If it's, you get up there and you can tell it's windy, you pack that in. Like, that better need to be done today. And if it does, you better make today tomorrow. Like, we've all been there probably at some point, right?
Right.
So, you say that, and I had a point, and the whiskey might have pulled it out of my head. Oh, what were you saying?
Ooh, about car bumping the tire.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you. Well, you didn't have to worry about that because you had proper barricades set up all around your lift per OSHA standards, right? So there's no way anybody'd ever bump into you.
Yeah, there was a cone out, a couple of them.
That seems like an unrealistic thing to worry about because you had the proper safety thing.
Yeah.
Whatever the correct footage is away from your heavy equipment. Yeah, you had that all set up. A spotter.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you're-
definitely did.
Yeah, you were just overly concerned for
Yeah.
some odd reason, even though you had all that safety equipment in place. Right.
Right.
Listen, we need OSHA. Like, God knows how many of us would get injured, maybe worse every year. But come on, calm the fuck down sometimes.
Right.
3 points of contact in a ladder. I'm not going to go off on that tangent. This is the weather episode. We're coming back to that.
One of them's going to be my dick.
It's going to have to be something, right? Yeah. If you want me to take tools and do my job. Anyways, we're going to come back to that.
Right. We'll revisit that one.
Sorry, no tangent. That just popped into my head. We're
Oh,
not gonna
that's
talk
going to
about
be
that
like
now.
an hour and a half episode.
Listen, OSHA, we're going to fucking light you up.
Yeah.
OSHA is super important.
We love OSHA.
No, listen, people really would get injured more and more seriously every single day if it wasn't for OSHA. But some of the rules can take a flying fuck. I'm telling you.
All the way to the top
All
of
the
fuck.
way off. Fucking all the way off, right? Come on now.
Okay, back on track. Squirrel.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Squirrel. Shiny.
So yeah, so when it comes, what?
Here's the thing. Okay, I know I went on tangent. That's my fault, buddy.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place a little bit, but
No,
that's all
and
right.
yeah, hurricanes, tornadoes. We're just trying to talk about extreme things that are going on here. I think we're to the point where I can maybe, now that we've had a chance to talk about some of the things that don't affect us here in the Midwest, but need to be talked about because they're out there, maybe it's time for an unpopular opinion.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Maybe those are the sort of things that you have to deal with. And when I say those sort of things, hurricanes, earthquakes, things that are a little more prevalent on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, you get the benefit of working in a beautiful place most of the time with temperate weather most of the time without the major extremes of cold to crazy hot. Is that the benefit you get for the drawback of maybe getting screwed by a hurricane, maybe getting lit up by the earthquake? I mean, earthquakes are really rare, right? Let's talk about hurricanes more. They're pretty common every single year.
Hurricanes, tornadoes.
You know they're coming every year. It's been happening forever, right? You could pack up and find a trade job somewhere else that didn't have that shit.
Yep.
Maybe the unpopular opinion is, well, I hate to see anyone's homes destroyed. I don't agree with any of that. I'm not saying hurricanes happen, but they happen and you keep staying. So are you there because the benefits outweigh the drawbacks? Just say it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm willing to give an unpopular opinion on this one. The simple fact is if you bitch about the hurricane coming in and you happen to be off work, bitch plan better because it happens every goddamn year.
Yeah, you can't be surprised, right?
Yeah, don't whine about it.
I don't have the respect for people that are sorry, I keep backing up from the mic, folks. Actually getting comfortable for once. I have no sympathy. I have a little sympathy, but not much, for the people who live in a place called Tornado Alley that gets tornadoes every year and they keep rebuilding and staying there. Like, I understand this is your family town that you lived in. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They're coming every year.
Yeah.
Don't get on TV and talk about how terrible it is.
Yeah, then fucking build better.
Right. Or
figure something out.
Build lower, have a better storm shelter. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people that don't have the financial means to pack up and move out of an area like that. They have the house and the property there. They can't.
Yeah, but if you can rebuild your fucking house all the time, you certainly have the financial means to get the fuck out.
Take the insurance money and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. Well, that's 3 unpopular opinions we got on this one, man.
I know that last one will take a bit of heat because people in middle America who deal with that, I know it's not just so easy to pick up and move. I get that, but holy fuck, like if every single year in the Midwest where we live, there was 100 homes destroyed by lightning strikes, I can tell you, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Right.
Right? Like, we get the occasional tornado in the area every few years, once in a while, a serious one, but like not like down there.
Right.
That's destroying counties sometimes.
Right.
Right? Not a home, not a town.
No.
Those are going through counties.
Counties.
Right.
Crossing county lines.
Yeah, I feel for anybody who deals with that. There's lots of loss of damage in life and all that stuff. Like, that's terrible. But holy fuck, like,
Yeah.
how many times does that happen in your county before you go, maybe we shouldn't live here anymore?
Right. Right. Take the fucking L and just leave.
Yeah, I know it's financially constrictive, but holy fuck, like,
Right. So is losing all your shit.
yeah, all the time.
Yeah. When you end up with Aunt Betsy's fucking couch from fucking 2 counties over and your house is sitting in the next county over, it's time to leave.
Oh yeah, your Chevy's in the tree in the neighbor's yard. You're like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's, and it's only a matter of time before it's not just your stuff, it's something important, right?
Right.
Yeah, I never did understand that. And the same thing with the coasts and the hurricanes.
Right. They
board everything up and they rebuild. I'm like, is it really that nice?
Yeah.
The
It
rest
must
of the
be.
time living, it must be.
Right. It must be.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and if you can explain this to me, please shout out. Like, I don't understand staying in a place that's going to get hammered by weather on a regularly annual schedule.
Now, let's
Fucking tell me.
let's accept the fact of where we live. We deal with every year, just like clockwork, we spend 2 to 3 weeks below zero. People lose power. People lose their lives. Right? Houses, pipes freeze. We stay here.
Yeah. But hold on, man. Yes, there's lives lost through power outages and cold weather here, certainly. Not the number of people who are getting taken out when a hurricane blows through fucking Miami. Like,
Well, no, you're right. But actually, you know what? I bet you might be wrong. Because usually when the hurricane, and I'm playing devil's advocate.
yeah, no, please, yeah.
When a hurricane comes through, usually if there's an evacuation needed, it's done before the hurricane gets there.
Oh, I see what you don't understand. Okay. I have
you see what I
now,
don't
hold on.
understand.
I see what you don't understand now. Okay, hold on. Let me just enlighten you a little here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I understand what's going on here. I have been through a hurricane or two on the coast. I know what it's like and the aftermath.
Nova Scotia could really get hurricanes.
Hey, man, a category 1 or 1.5 is a fucking hurricane, brother. It's more than you fucking had in South Dakota or Wyoming, like, right? I've been through a hurricane or two.
Aren't you told to leave though?
Where?
Inward.
Yeah. How far? See, here's exactly. This brings up the thing. You know what? You might have just made me realize what I didn't understand about the hurricane people down south. Although they can be like category 3s, 4s, and 5s.
They get fucked.
Okay, right?
Right.
That's a significantly worse hurricane.
Right.
Which was my point, though, right? Man, I've been through it. It's a fucking nightmare, buddy.
Right.
Like, it is property damage as far as the eye can see. Everything is covered in rain and leaves and God knows what and debris, and power is out and nothing is moving anywhere and none of the stores are open. Everything comes to a grinding halt at the exact moment that you need stuff.
Right.
Whether it's food or building materials or electricity or bus service.
Never convenient, right?
Right.
But they're to my fact, like, and you and I can go rounds on this one too, because okay, you get a hurricane, it's not in the middle of the winter freezing.
Well, it's never in the middle of winter freezing in those places, right?
Right. So like, okay, so I really want to look up those numbers because a lot of people fucking die when it starts to freeze.
All right, we'll come back to this one. We'll have a separate.
We'll do around the break table.
We'll come back on a break time episode with this and get some actual facts that we can throw at each other. We'll find the most wild shit that we can find off the internet that backs up our point, even if it's not true because it's the internet.
Yeah,
we'll come back and go
everything
rounds
on the
on
internet
this.
that is true, right?
Well, that's what they're trying to tell us, my friend.
But until then, and we are going to start doing some of that break time talk, which are going to be some really fun episodes that we get to banter back and forth and argue and kind of piss and moan about things.
Yeah, stuff that doesn't have to be trade related.
Right, just some random bullshit.
Whatever we want to talk about that day that you might have been talking about at work or whatever.
Yeah, it might be the chrome on our motorcycles. Who knows? Because
right.
Jason has way too much chrome on his.
And John's a hater, in case you don't know.
His is really pretty, and mine's not. But anyway,
John's mad because I brought the motorcycle into the job trailer today because I didn't want to leave it out in the weather. It's just sitting here shining, looking like a beauty.
Yeah, and I'm staring at it and it just makes me fucking jealous.
Yeah, and he drove his cage over here, so I see what's going on. That's why I said hater, folks.
Yeah.
But yes, exactly what you're saying. Some tangents, some different things we want to talk about in the break time episodes that aren't exactly trade related.
Right. And we definitely want you guys to stick around. We want you to be involved in that. I'm really happy with this talk. Did we hit all the points that you wanted to hit?
We hit all the points I wanted to hit. The only thing that I want to double back on a little bit here. We're going to come back on this later, but I want to see really where you lie on this. We don't agree on the moving away, severity, all that thing, all right? I would like to remind you of nearly every video from television that you ever see of someone who stayed behind for the hurricane or tornado or whatever, right?
Right.
I've been here 20 years and I'm not leaving my feet. We've all seen that interview, right?
We've all seen that.
Do those look like the most mentally stable people?
The most intelligent people
who stay behind for that stuff? Like, certainly there's people who do it out of just, spite, I guess, but let's be honest. I understand the point that you were trying to make about people staying behind, but really, like, if you see the people who are actually staying behind, do they look like they're firing on all cylinders? Man?
They never interview the lucid ones.
They absolutely do skew those different. They're looking for the hillbilly. I've rebuilt 15 times, man, and I'm going to rebuild because this is my family's land. I've been here from shrimp fishing since the 30s. Like, yes, they're looking for that person, sure.
Right.
But do you really think there's more of the other stable-minded person that they could interview?
Not sticking around, maybe.
That's the crux, not sticking around,
right.
Not rebuilding that's all I was going to get at. We'll circle back to this. I just wanted to clarify your position because when I come back at you later, this was your position.
Right.
I'm not misleading you.
No.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No.
You all heard it.
No. I think now. Yeah. No.
That's what backpedaling sounds like,
no,
kids.
Well, I was trying to correct something, and there's no need to correct anything because I am going to hold that stance because it was I feel like it was maybe a little skewed, but I'm going to hold that stance.
The way that you expressed your stance was a little skewed, or the way that I tried to get you to clarify it was skewed? What are we talking about here?
The way that I expressed my stance.
Would you like to correct it now or at a later date?
Oh no, I'll correct that at a later date.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna kind of fucking hold to it right now.
All right. As of right now, that's his position. We're going to come back to this hurricane weather with all the BS facts we can find later just to talk shit.
Yeah. Now let's keep in mind that I was talking about the amount of deaths from being cold and freezing.
That was your comparison. Right. Certainly.
So that does tie into the staying behind type of thing, right? Anyway, so
all right, we're going to come back to this. He's right. This is going to spin up. We can do a whole half an hour on this. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
We're going to come back to the
we're
weather.
We're going to make it a break table.
We're going to come back to break table weather thing later. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know that anybody has actually caught this yet. It'll probably be on the social medias, and maybe you've just caught on naturally. Break table talks are going to be things that aren't necessarily trade related. They might be. Right. But if we go off on a tangent about things, these might be just some separate little tidbit episodes or whatever that you get from us. So that we call that break table, as if we were all obviously sitting at the break table at work, just the random conversations that happen.
Yeah, yeah, we just tend to shoot the shit about random stuff.
Yeah, they won't be as specific. That's what we're saying when we talk about break times.
Right, and our break times are only like 15 minutes, so that's what you can kind of expect. I think out of those episodes is short little bursts.
Yeah, we're going to make an effort to make the weekly one. A reasonable time, 45 an hour. We know that you want to listen to other ones during the day. That's about a reasonable amount.
But we want you to listen to just ours.
Not just ours.
No, I want you just to listen to ours.
We want you to listen to ours
first
every week and suggest it to one other friend or family member every week.
And keep in mind, we are going to try to hold that schedule of Thursday mornings. We're going to release it on Thursday mornings.
Yeah, the actual day might change, but we're going to make it a regular day every week, so you know when it's coming up. We want to catch you early, but Thursday seems like the best day.
I really like Thursdays.
Yeah, for everybody on the outside, listen, a little kind of, I don't know if fourth wall break is the right term to use, but that's the one to use right now. There's a lot of talk that goes into putting something like this out, and we had a real trade-like conversation about, well, lots of people take Fridays off, and you don't want to catch it in the middle of the week, and you want them to talk about the weekend. Like
Wednesdays always suck.
Yeah, Wednesdays always really suck, right? You're in the middle of the week, you fucking hate your life. You're like, oh my Jesus, it's only fucking Wednesday morning. We don't want to be in that. We want to be in you seeing the end of the road on a Thursday, and especially if you take Friday off, we don't want you waiting. So anyways, yeah, we're shooting for Thursdays. When you get up and go to work, it should be waiting for you Thursdays.
Right.
One thing we never did mention, though, in any of our podcasts up until now, dawned on me this afternoon, you're going to be getting the audio for now on a couple of sources, but certainly on ones that you can rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah, there's going to be the options, and when we know which ones those are specifically, we're definitely going to pump that out.
Right, so please, okay, I know we weren't ramming it down your throat until now, but good or bad, top or bottom, please rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend. Hey, if this grows, maybe you get to see our ugly mugs in 4K at some point.
That's what we're hoping, right?
We'd love to have a video on later, but we're committing to now just to do audio. And hey, listen, let's be honest, we're in the trades. Who watches video ones in the trades?
Never.
We're listening, man.
We don't. Yeah, we listen while we work.
Right. If occasionally we talk about a video that somebody DM'd us or sent in or some email or whatever, if you need to go and look at the link on the show notes, great. We'll have that stuff up there. But for now, audio, and I guess that's that.
Yeah. No, and we're working. This is a work in progress, right? So we're a couple of apprentices. We're learning as we go.
Podcast apprentices, kids.
Like, that's just how it works. We're journeymen and foremen out in the field. We're apprentices when it comes to this podcast shit.
Right. And if you can bear with us here, promise, regularity, sound quality, all that. This is all going to get better as we go. We're learning as we go. But bear with us. I promise it's going to get funnier and better and all that stuff. John, let them know where they can find us.
Yeah, so you can reach us. Let's start out with the website. It's going to be isawpodcast.com, a great place. You can actually go in our homepage, sign up for our email blasts. You get notified on when we're putting releases out and what the episode's going to be about. You can also hit us up on our email at isawpodcast@gmail.com. That's ISAW podcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, look us up on Instagram at isawpodcast. And give us a follow and let us know that you're listening, and hit us up in the DMs, and would love to hear from you.
That's it exactly. And if you are enjoying listening and you are involved in some of the social medias, keep your eye out. We got some real great ideas for ways to be more directly involved with you. So keep your ears open for that and keep your eyes on the socials. We got some good ideas going forward here of way we can interact better with everybody, and
They're going to be fun.
Yeah, they're gonna be fun. We're looking forward to it. So John, unless you got anything else, my friend, you happy?
I am certainly happy, sir.
And we're gonna circle back to this argument about hurricanes later. That'll be a break time episode. Sláinte, buddy. As always, until next time, thanks for listening. We hope to hear from you again. And remember, when you're out there this week, your work keeps the world working. Thank you very much for listening.